Hey, welcome. It's
Episode
episode one.
125 instead of
Yeah,
first.
yeah, yeah. Um, so we have a couple little things to talk about, and then we're gonna bring our guests in. Um, yeah. So our Ink Two Kickstarter is actually like going on right now. We can click the link in the description and back it, share it, just do something that involves us funding. um,
What are we at right now? So that when they go to check it, they'll be like, wow, it's so much higher because I
So
just checked.
right now we're at 1,317 out of an 1850 goal. That's our goal, but like we're trying to get above the goal, like everybody tries to do.
Like, here's where we are. This is where we want to be.
Yeah. So we do have a couple stretch goals. There is one of the stretch goals that we removed because that's something's happening with that on Monday. So by the time this episode comes out, um, yeah, that reward tier will be made. So there's a new cover, but I'm not going to show it yet because you should check out our social media, and you'll definitely see the cover. It's pretty cool. Um, so that new cover is going to be there with also issue one. You can get that stretch goal, which is now not a stretch goal. It's going to just be part of that reward tier. And you can also get the digital versions of both issue one and two when you click that choose that reward tier. Um, so that's pretty cool.
Well, you got to update the milestone meter, or do you just update it when you get to the milestone?
Oh, when we get to the milestone, so like
Okay.
500, 1,000. There's no like 1,200 one, so or 1,300 one. But yeah, when we get to like 1,500, then I can, or near that, then I can do that.
So maybe we'll have to update it by the end of the video.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Um, and for Seer Chronicles, our flagship title, the third issue is actually starting the inking process soon, but I have some thumbnails that Hector actually sent, and yeah, so it's pretty cool.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I like the whole style that he has, and I can't wait to like release this. So, um, I'm not gonna say the month that this Kickstarter will happen, but it's definitely happening like fall time. So I won't say the actual month yet, but that's happening. And then in the summer, of course, is mittens too, which I'm gonna say the month of that because like I've said it probably before, and it's like definitely gonna happen is July again. So in July at some point, mittens 2 will be on Kickstarter then.
So if you like kitty cats,
And sci-fi and dogs and humans are in it. There's humans. Yeah, and other weird alien type creatures. Then you'll like that.
yeah, the humans are the weird alien-like creatures, by the way.
We show off a new planet, which is the first time we show. Well, second time, third time, because there's Planet Boneyard, there's Planet Yarn, and then there's this planet that we're going to be showing off in Mittens too. So we're slowly showing our solar system that is of our comic universe. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So we got those things happening. There's not much else.
Well, one thing I was going to say is now that the Kickstarter is live, I know you don't like to do the screen share, but should you screen share and go through the feed?
Yeah, I'll do that in a sec.
Yeah, and then just do it once, and then we don't have to do. Yeah, because this one's a pretty sweet feed. Like it's definitely something worth showing.
Um, yeah. So currently we sit at 1,317 still, obviously. 25 days left. There's a recap of issue 1 if you didn't read issue 1.
Also, who did the artwork for those little the concept thing? If you scroll up, yeah, the ink issue 1 recap, like all those.
J.R. Harris.
He that's what I thought. But I just wanted to shout him out because he did a great job. Like with a bunch of these little.
I just tell him like certain things that I want, and then he knocks it out of the park all the time. He kind of like helps with all our Kickstarters now, so I pay him, and then I'm gonna pay him after. Then he's going to he just makes like graphics and stuff because I'm not a Photoshop person really. So just a little recap of issue 1, and a couple pages. And it's the same artist that's on issue 1 that's on issue 2, and he'll also do issue 3 because this is a 3-issue plot arc, and then it ends on a cliffhanger in a way. That's one of my favorite pages. And then we're
printed in America.
Yeah, we're printing through Comics Ball Spring, like always. Issue 2. So if you don't know what issue 2 is about, it's been 3 years since Shane has been home in the town of Ballston, which is his hometown. A lot has changed since he left. He was at Mount Canmon, or however you say that, which we will get to later on. He returns after training and like gaining his new powers and skills, and then he finds out there's like an ancient organization known as the Faceless, and he took somebody that is like dear to him, while also having to deal with this new drug that's like sweeping the streets called Imp. So there's actually a sticker that we're going to show, and that's actually like what drug is. It looks like a kind of wafer thing. If you ever watched 21 Jump Street, that's where I got the idea.
Do it now.
So he's returning home through this portal, and he falls on his friend Lucas, and then cops are at the door, and then they're wondering what's going on.
Oh my God, what happened?
Blood. Now the digital version will not show this, but if you get the physical version, there's going to be a decoder.
Well, it shows the writing's not on that one anyway, so they don't even know.
Yeah.
So in the digital version, there'll be writing on this wall, but it's hidden for now. We don't want nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody figuring it out.
I don't want people like trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there'll be writing there and throughout the book that you have to decode if you want to know.
We got a couple pull quotes. Travis Gibb, he's been waiting a lifetime for this book, and it's finally here. Phil Locklear, a fast-paced ride that begins on paper and finds its way into your psyche. Ink will transport you to a story where good and evil are easily discerned as the ink that created them. Headlong action propels you through the issue. David actually has been like promoting our Kickstarter like as much as me. He just keeps like just popping up everywhere doing that, and he does that to other people too. So that's awesome. And Eric Franklin,
I can picture Eric just saying that. It's moody, atmospheric, and very engaging. It has the sense of a truly great narrative, and that is just winding up to something incredible.
Yeah.
There's our milestone meter.
There's some concept art. Adam did that.
Yeah, it looks awesome. I don't know if I ever saw that concept art.
Yeah, and then February, our colorist, did the concept art for the tattoos and stuff because Adam isn't like a big fan of doing concept art. So he did this. He placed the tattoos like where I wanted them. So I had to tell him like where each one goes. One of my favorite tattoos that he does have is the chain, and that's one of my favorite pages. I'm actually getting the original ink like page from Adam. He's mailing that to me, so I get to like put that on the wall. So yeah,
that's awesome.
February also like created suits and all this other stuff. I just gave them like references and like, this is what the face looks like. Our backer goals were, we're getting to 65 backers, so that's pretty cool. So we're gonna unlock another PDF.
So say what the backer goals are though.
So Blood and Fire by Aaron. I can never say his last name because.
So he's getting attached to all the how are you getting these included with all backers?
So all backers get like the digital PDFs of like these digital PDFs. So like there's even more too if we get more backers than 65. There's like a bunch of more. Yeah. So like a bunch of Kickstarters do this. So like they try to like promote other indie creators by like here's my PDF. I do that a couple times with like ink. I think I give scales to somebody once. So yeah, this is like shows your stuff to other people that you probably won't show it to. This is the covers that all of these covers Adam did. There is a new cover, but again, I'm not going to share what that is yet. This was pretty easy for Adam to do, I guess, because all he had to do was like switch out the layers. And yeah, so there's 5 covers. We've never had a Kickstarter that had that many.
Yeah. But the covers too are all associated with what we just saw above. These are all the different faceless numbers. Yeah,
because somebody actually did message me and was like, "That this is the same cover," and like it's not though. Like look a little closer. Like, oh, I'm just blind. I was like, yeah, I get that. So our rewards are.
I thought that'd be funny as hell, just putting up 5 of the same ones and being like, yeah, this is. There you go. My variant art A. It's trust me, it's different.
Each reward tier has a different like cover that you can get. You can also get whatever type of cover you want within our add-ons too. So you could choose like the recruit one, but you can get like the captain one or something like that. So yeah. So we don't have like a ton of rewards, but yeah, this is it. And then we have our retail tier, which I did tell the retail store that I told Danny that we are live, but he has yet to answer. But I think he's busy or something. We'll do like MegaCon or something. So here's the add-ons. So you can get issue 1 or any of the covers. You can get the sticker, which is that you can get that sticker if you don't get the reward that has the sticker. And there's the art print, which is like of one of my favorite panels that have ever been drawn and colored.
I think the reason why I love that is because like compared to like any comic book I've ever seen, that's probably one of the coolest, if not the coolest, I think I've ever seen. Like that was so well done.
So here are our stretch goals or expansion goals, and there's a bookmark, a temporary tattoo. If we somehow reach above $4,500, there'll probably be another temporary tattoo of one of his other tattoos.
Oh my God, we should get the chain one.
Oh yeah, we could do that. And then that's where all the money goes, and then the team is me, Adam, Dylan.
That's me.
February, yeah, and then Jerome. So yeah, the book is done. So again, you back it, and then we fund. You'll be able to get the book.
Nice. Are we able to show do you have the video on your computer to show it?
Well, guests are here, so
that's fine. That's fine. I was just curious, but yeah, just go to that page and watch the video because it's awesome.
Yeah, except the talking part, you don't need to hear me talk.
No, the talking part's cool. It's real. It's real authentic. It feels just like this felt. Torturous.
And yeah, so I'm going to start the episode now. So.
I have this on full screen, and I haven't because like I'm on my laptop, and I normally because my screen's so small, so I have it full screen. That's the first time I noticed there's like this blue loading bar on the bottom as the video plays.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never noticed that. I just noticed that.
So our guests are here.
How's it going?
What's up?
Oh yeah, if you guys want to, I found this out when I was logging in. See how we have like our name with like the little thing underneath it? If you edit your name now, not when you first logged in, it'll give you that ability. When I logged in, it only let me do my name. and then Greg started it, and I hit edit, and it worked. So in case you want to like showcase a couple of things like, you know, your name or comic book name and then your handle or whatever.
Yeah, I usually have one of my comics in there. I just didn't know which one to put in. So I took it out.
Nice. Yeah, there we go. So Greg.
Yeah. Oh, I was saying I'm very good people. So let's first introduce ourselves. So we can start with Paul and then go down to Jeff.
I'm Paul Gomez. I'm brand new, about a year into it. Creator, writer, PTSD, Bushy Boo Circus Mysteries, Cryptic Haze, and coming soon, Prelude to Aurora.
Cool. Okay.
All right. I'm Darrell Damper. I'm the creator of High Top Comic. I am the illustrator, writer, pretty much everything. And I am doing another comic book titled Mac. It should be coming out hopefully around next year. So look out for that.
I'm Jeffrey Haas. I am the writer creator of The End of All Terminus and the host of the Traversing the Stars podcast.
And I was on that podcast.
Yes.
Cool. So we have a couple questions, and then I'm going to go into if you have a campaign or like you have one that's coming, we're going to have the links in the description so people can click on them, and we can actually talk about your campaigns a little bit, and then we'll go into our little Nova Nation paywall thing after that, and we'll be done and then stop torturing you. So can you? We'll start with Paul and then go down to Jeff again. Unless if whoever wants to jump in or whatever. Can you tell us about your background and like how you got into creating comics?
Yeah. Oddly enough, I was working in a warehouse. Whenever everything hit, they kind of laid me off because I didn't want my kids to just be on electronics. We were starting to create stories, and I was introducing them into comics, and they were like, why not make some of these stories into comics? So it was a household project to keep up morale while everybody was stuck at home, and it just kind of railroaded into what I call a small career in comics now.
That's awesome. That's very cool.
Thank you.
Darrell?
All right. Were you done? That was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've been comic book fan since probably I was 7, 8 years old. So I've been comics my whole life. I actually started off in school with animation, and I actually was trying to do a high top animation, and it was just taking too long. So I switched over to illustration and comic book. So and then my final for my Photoshop class, our art teacher instructed us to make a comic book cover, and I did such a good job with it. So he was like, "Why don't you do comics?" So, and then that's when High Top was born. So here we are now. So
That's cool.
That's also awesome. That's cool.
I'm a second generation comic book nerd. My dad was a comic book nerd when he was a little kid in the 60s. When I became a little nerd, he got introduced me to comic books, and I've been reading them for 34 years now. And eventually I decided, let's try to make some of my own. There's reasons for that. I got inspired by CrossGen because they were looking for writers, and I was thinking, hey, I'm going to submit a comic book to them and see if I can get on board. And when I finished, they went out of business. So I decided I might as well just keep going, and so I did.
That both sucks and is awesome.
Yeah, Darrell, you were actually talking about animation. Like 2 years ago, maybe. I started getting into like Blender, kind of like knowing how to do some of that, and I animated a hot dog, and so I created a hot dog and I animated it going into a bun, and then like ketchup going on it, and that took 2 hours to make 15 seconds of that.
yeah, it was probably like a 5-second video, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get why it takes forever to do animation. So how do you approach developing characters and their like backstories?
Me first?
Whoever wants to go first.
Well, I mean, it was really really interesting whenever I started learning how to write and how to script stuff. Because, like I said, the first script that I did really was with my kids. So we had brainstormed a lot of the characters on that first script. But afterwards, it's usually feeling the story out and then starting to build the characters that feel right with the story. That's usually how I build my characters in most of my scripts.
That's cool.
Darrell?
I usually read into old comics or I watch old because I'm a 90s kid, so I like 90s cartoons. So I watch a lot of 90s cartoons and read a lot of 90s comics and try to incorporate some of my character with those Marvel or DC or Image characters. And I already know how High Top is going to end, but as I see when I write issue 2 and 3, I change some things or I develop this for the character. So some of it's on the fly and some of it's been written 2 years ago. So I guess it depends on when I'm writing and I'm reading something like, maybe I can change this for a little bit. But for the character development, I mostly try to take influence from the 90s. And so when you read High Top, you see that set in the 90s and has like a 90s atmosphere and everything. So
That's cool.
I would say this isn't one way that I determine how to write a character. Some characters are written a certain way because there's something I want to say about that character, or the character says something about the story. Sometimes the story is already determined, and I develop the character to exist within it. So the character is then subject in some ways to the flow of the story. And then there's sometimes, like my current story tournaments, where I create a character. Usually it's more of the side characters, and then the story just kind of goes, and the character tends to tell me where they are going. But it sometimes depends. Like once again, in Terminates, there's a few characters that I definitely had to make them like this for the story to make sense. And like I said, there's a few characters that I wasn't going to do anything with. And then as I was writing, well, he's a little more interesting than I thought he was. And then they become, a little more important into the story and have more, obviously, screen time, as it were.
That's kind of interesting because like there are some stories that get like drastically altered based on like fan feedback. Like if anyone's fans of Dragon Ball Z, Gohan was supposed to take over Goku's place, and basically the fans loved Goku so much that's why he gets brought back beyond the number of times he's supposed to be able to get brought back. Just because they're like, no, we can't let Goku die. He's our favorite. So yeah, it's super interesting. But yeah, the way that like Greg and I have been like developing characters, because Greg essentially wrote like a ridiculously large book that comprises all of the stories that we've been doing. But as we like turn them into comics, sometimes what we'll do is we'll take a character and we'll start building a background behind them, so we know how like an individual moment they might react. And sometimes by building that background, we realize part of the story wouldn't make sense if this really happened to them. And so we'll actually adjust the story compared to the character. So it is interesting, like how different people build different characters. That seems to be the way we've been working. Is like one of our characters who's developing into a villain, essentially like he was supposed to basically just be evil, and it's like, why? It's like, if anything happens to him and he dies, like, we don't really care, right? It's not like you really want to get invested. That's the reason why the Joker movie was so fascinating. You're watching somebody get corrupted, and then you almost care when something bad happens, but then you're like, oh, I kind of get it, but it's still still wrong. So like that's kind of like the route we're going, is we want to have we'll even like adjust our story arc if the character wouldn't follow that plot line. Like there's still very important plot lines. Like there's certain things that have to happen. But like, for instance, there's a moment where a bunch of our characters end up running into each other. And I'm like, why are they all there? Like there has to be a reason. Let's figure out, because of their character, what would have had to have happened to get them there. And then we'll adjust the story, but still get them to the plot point. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I started writing issue 6 of our flagship title, Seer Chronicles, yesterday. I did write like all of that already before, like what Dylan said. I wrote the entire like book, and that was like basically that and other solo series, and it's all matched together. And I started editing that down. But over like the course of 6 years, like I've definitely edited more to try to like fit the characters where they're actually supposed to be. So yeah, like that one villain character that he was talking about, like he was supposed to be like offed pretty quickly, and I was, because like he's based on a person in real life that I've known, and I'm like, I don't like that person, so I'm gonna just like kill him in my story. I was like, oh no, he's actually a good character now. Like the character is better than the actual person in real life.
Yeah, but it's cool though. Like understanding characters in a story, like like think about it, even like the person in real life he doesn't like. Maybe there is some weird, messed up plot point in his life that brought him to that. So that's the reason I like doing it that way. Because if you build out the character enough, eventually your story will almost make sense on its own. Like I think if you build enough character background, something can happen, and you don't need to draw it all out. Like you don't need to like show these 8 steps. Like you can go, you know what? I saw all those other things from past stories he's involved in or she's involved in, and you're like, I get why this happened. I don't need to see the arc for that. This can just now happen. So yeah, it's kind of interesting way to do it. But it's been really fun, like making up total like one of our characters who's not really that prominent, but he's just important in the story for a moment. We're like discussing, like, does this guy have family? Like, what would he run in during this situation? Right? There's like it's one of the police officers. Like, is he going to run in during this situation? Right? If he has family, maybe he doesn't, unless maybe his family lives nearby and he wants the crime to be reduced here. Now all of a sudden it's more like it's like little details like that, because we were trying to figure out what would happen, and that actually led to how the end of our second issue of the Seer Chronicles ended, was based on that information. We were trying to figure out how it would lead to it, and so it was kind of cool.
Yeah, do y'all create a Bible for your story? I mean, because usually whenever I'm creating the characters, it's kind of hard to tell if the character's driving it or if the story is. And it really depends on which story that I'm writing, if the characters are more prominent than the story itself. Do y'all find that the same thing?
Sometimes, like, it depends on me. It varies with issue to issue. Like sometimes, like issue 1 and issue 2 are definitely character driven, and issue 3 and 4 are story, and then back to issue 5, it's character. So to me, it fluctuates between, I guess, what mood I depend on writing that day. So, and whatever tweaks I make to the script. So,
sometimes like I usually have a sense of where the story is going. I usually have, before I start writing, a beginning, middle, and end of what I want to say. I usually have a few key characters I want to focus in on. I'm trying with Terminus to let go a little bit and let the story kind of guide itself a little bit. I mean, as long as I hit a certain point. Sometimes I get really particular about it. I'll do panel by panel, page by page, issue by issue before I get started on it. This time I'm trying to let loose and let the characters dictate a little bit about of the direction, and hopefully by doing that, the characters surprise me and hopefully prove to be way more interesting than they started out to be.
That's definitely a cool way to do it. Yeah. The other thing that I liked about it too is that I think part of the inspiration of being character focused was actually what we wanted to do is we wanted to build a Wikipedia. Like there's like the fandom wikis that you can build around your world. And we wanted to have so much information because like if you look up Superman, there's a 1,800 page Wikipedia on them from all the different story arcs and all this stuff. And we're like, that's not going to happen anytime soon unless we create it, because if we don't create it, no one's going to know all this background information until it's in a comic one day. So that's kind of like what inspired that was we started like really developing like how tall are they, like what's their favorite music, like weird stuff, like so like just anything about them that might be interesting to put into like a bio is kind of where we started with that. We actually it might even still be up. We actually, I'm not going to say it where it is, but there is like a wiki someplace of a bunch of our characters, but it'll spoil some stuff that we're working on. So I'm just going to not share that. But if somebody feels like they want to deep dive, they might find it. But that was kind of like what led to the character development. But then, like I said, as we did that, it was like, okay, well, now this doesn't make sense in the story. Like this guy wouldn't do that. He would do this. Right. And so it was very interesting to, like how we got to why we did that.